So it's come to the day of the big exam. You've done your studying, maybe you were up too late, you've downed a cup of coffee, you're stressing, you have an hour before the exam, and this exam is worth 25% of your grade. You're not prepared as you wanted to be. What can you do? I'm ProGain Knowledge, I'm here to help you, and today we're going to talk about what to do right before and during the test that can help you out quite a lot. So, step one, let's say you have an hour before the test, the exam, practice the memorization things that you're actually going to be able to learn. You know, it's not the time to delve into a new topic that you didn't really get very well, right? That you're going to be kind of iffy on anyway, if it's like a deep free response answer question. You know, I took a biochem class. That last few minutes before the exam, that's time to take a look over the amino acids again, the things you have to just memorize, the things that are going to be parts of other questions but aren't going to be the really 3, 4, 5, step deep questions, right? If you have a full hour, especially if your professor has time before, you can ask about deeper things. I've practiced like drawing through a mechanism right before an exam, and then I got lucky and it was on the exam. So that can work, but that's really only if you have at least 40 minutes, especially with a professor. If I'm on my own, pretty much just looking over something you had to memorize, something you're going to be able to get down really quick. You know, if you're in general chemistry and you need to know your polyatomics, that last 20 minutes before the exam, practice writing them all out. Make a little table, practice. Just get those stuck in your head right before the exam. That'll help you out on those 1 or 2 questions. That's a couple percent, right? You're trying to maximize your points here. It's all this game of point maximization. Second thing, leading directly from that, if there's something you memorized right before the exam and you're gonna need it, flip the exam over, find a scratch paper, whatever, write the whole thing down. I can't tell you how many times we had to know, exactly like that, polyatomic molecules, amino acids, different enzyme classes, or, different B vitamins, that kind of thing. And I like to memorize things kind of in tables. That helps me. Like I can fill in a chart and it's easier to fill in the rest once I have the chart than it is for just off memory trying to like pick one randomly. So what do I do when I start the exam? A lot of the times I flip to the back page and I write out the entire chart. If you've done it right before the exam and you really have it down, it's only going to take you like a couple minutes, especially if it's an exam that is going to be a big topic. Now, don't go writing down, if you're in general chemistry 2 and there's maybe only one question about, diatomic molecules, you don't necessarily need to go write down all the diatomics and all the solubility rules and all of XYZ. Only things that are pertinent to your exam. But that can be very helpful. Write it down on the back really quick. You'll get it all out, and then it's easier to reference later than to be trying to, while you're already kind of stressed, find your place in it. So, now, let's back up a little bit. Right before the exam, what do? Obviously, the basics, like drink some water, go to the bathroom, make sure you're prepared. But the most underrated pre-exam thing to do is hype yourself up a little bit. It's just like how athletes have a pre-game ritual. People will look at you a little funny. I mean, you're not going to be doing anything too extra. People will question why you have headphones on so late. I walk into every exam with headphones on, playing metal music. Don't know why. I only listen to some metal music when I work out, but for some reason, right before an exam, something about it hypes me up a little bit, gets me in an academic mood, and no matter your level of preparation, this is critical. No matter your level of preparation, walk into every exam thinking that you're about to do amazing. You gotta be confident. Because if you're not confident in your abilities, your brain's going to start to doubt. You're gonna start to doubt, you're gonna second guess your answers, you're gonna have trouble finding, recalling things in memory because your cortisol's so high. You're all stressed out about like, I don't know how to do anything. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Now, you walk into every exam being like, I got this, I'm gonna do amazing. And if it doesn't turn out that way, that's fine. But you walk into every exam thinking you're gonna do amazing, because the stress about thinking that you're gonna do poorly doesn't help you anyway. But confidence does. Confidence helps you execute, just like in sports. So come up with a little pre-game ritual, pre-test ritual. Like for me, it's the headphones, I get my water, run to the bathroom, whatever. I walk in, I'm blasting my metal music. I'm like, all right, we're good to go. We're about to take this test. Figure something out like that. It could be different, but hype yourself up a little bit, walk into every exam with confidence, go get after it. Now, step 3 here, during the exam. So you're taking a difficult exam, you're getting stuck on things. I have met so many people who were not aware that in college, you're allowed to ask questions on the exam. Now, this is very, very professor to professor. So you can't go up to everyone and be like, hey, can I get help with this? And expect them to give you a ton, right? I have had some professors who are like, oh, I'm sorry, I just can't help you with exams. I can't clarify this, I can't X, Y, Z. I've also had other professors who essentially helped me get 7 answers on a test of 40. That's 18% increase. I'm not exaggerating. Literally 7 out of 40 questions I was stuck on, and I kept going up to my organic chemistry professor to ask. And then the key here is you have to show not only that you're trying, but that you kind of get what's going on. So what I would do, what I notice is a lot of professors, if you walk up and you go, I need help on this, they're gonna say, I'm sorry, it's an exam, I can't help you. But in my organic chemistry class, when I walked up and I had, it's a multiple choice answer about what's gonna be the final product, and I had a mechanism drawn out for how the nucleophilic attack happens and XYZ and what's gonna happen, and I'm asking my professor, I'm kind of confused, is this thing we're adding acting as a reducing agent, or is it acting as an oxidizing agent, or is it separate, is that a solvent, whatever the question may be. The fact that I've shown my professor that I can draw out the mechanism shows them that I'm not only trying, but that I know some chemistry. And when you can show them that, tests are all about assessing level of mastery, right? So if you can show them that you have proven a level of mastery, that you can successfully do chemistry or whatever the topic is at a high level, they're more inclined to help you get that last little bit because you were so close. It's what I've noticed, and it doesn't work for every professor, but it is huge. When I took bio freshman year, I had the teacher after a test literally tell us, guys, you can ask questions, right? Because a bunch of people out of like 200, I'd say maybe 40, asked a question about one of the exam questions and all did pretty well. And then basically everyone else missed the exam question. That kind of stuff happens all the time. You are allowed to raise your hand. You are allowed to ask questions. Important note here, I will say it's often much more valuable to ask your professor than to ask a TA. And the reason is not because TAs aren't knowledgeable, they very much are, but because TAs are not going to be the ones necessarily grading you, even if they're actually grading the paper, they're not the one inputting it to the grade book like your professor is. They're not the one that's allowed to make the judgment call of, I can help this student out more on this question because this student has earned it, because it's not their class. So I've noticed TAs are really only helpful for clarifying like typos, or like if something doesn't print right on the exam, like an arrow's kind of fuzzy, you can be like, where's that pointing? They'll help with that. But a lot of the kind of conceptual work through questions, TAs aren't quite as helpful as your professor. And the final part about this, the reason asking questions can be helpful, have you ever been explaining something to one of your friends? Like say it's a personal problem or I don't know, whatever it may be. And as soon as you say it out loud, you kind of immediately realize the solution and the things just kind of come to you about what you were really trying to say. It's the same kind of thing. When you're stuck in a problem and you're so like stressed out looking at the exam and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't figure this out. I'm struggling on this question, blah, 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 blah. And then you go up and you're like, what the heck is missing here, blah, blah, blah. And you go up to your professor and you're like, so if this happens to here, how am I supposed to, do this because the mechanism I shown it would, attack here and blah, blah, blah. And your professor goes, well, what is that? And suddenly, as you're explaining it, you realize that, oh, you made a for Oxy Anion Intermediate or whatever it may be. And then you're like, oh, so that's gonna go down this pathway. Whatever the topic is, explaining it out loud can often help you realize things you weren't seeing before. Now, the other final tip I want to give is pretty basic, but if something's a difficult question, if you're really, really stuck, skip it and come back. Never spend too much time. I go through exams. I've had a 30 question exam that I skipped 10 or 11 of and came back. I had a 40 question exam, I skipped like 14. I just circle, come back, circle, come back. I would, if you're taking a Scantron exam, I would circle both the test sheet and the Scantron so that you don't accidentally bubble in the wrong, layer, because that can screw you up if you're off by a layer. So that can be very helpful. Put in everything you know, then come back and figure out the ones you don't know. I hope that helps you guys on your tests. Hope that gets you better exam scores. Let me know in the comments if it works or if any of these are in particular helpful, or if you want any more clarity, I can make another video. This is Pro Game Knowledge. I'll see you guys next time.